circle, right? There you go. Good. Good. Yep, it's a circle. You're right. So the shape of the base is the circle, right? So to find the volume, I need to find the area of the base. Well, since the base is a circle, how do I find area of a circle? That's from last unit, right? Hopefully you have that memorized, but if you don't, that's what I'm here for. Area of a circle is going to be pi times radius squared. That's how we'll find the area of that base, all right? And then we're going to multiply it by the height of the actual cylinder, which is 2. Well, that's pretty simple. So basically what I can do is I can rewrite this formula as volume equals area of the base, which is pi r squared, times the height of it, which is 2. Hopefully we're good so far. So all I need to do is just plug in the radius of the base. Well, they gave us the diameter, right? The diameter was 10, right? So we know that the radius is half of that. So the radius is 5. So we're going to say pi times 5 squared times 2. And we know that 5 squared is 25. So pi times 25 times 2. And we know that 25 times 2 is 50. So 50 pi centimeters cubed. Volume is cubic units always, not square units. Square units was area. When we do volume, it's cubic units. Okay, so this is what we call our exact volume. Notice how I did not multiply by pi, because if I multiply by pi, I'm going to have to round it. All right, so once I round it, it's not exact anymore. Then it becomes approximate, which is very close, but not exact, right? So this is an exact answer. So on a test or a quiz, if I say, what's the exact volume? You should say 50 pi centimeters cubed. Now, if I said, what's the approximate volume? Then you should just punch that into your calculator. So hopefully you guys have calculators on your phones or right next to you. Why don't you guys punch that in real quick with me? 50 times, remember, always use the pi button on your calculator. Don't use 3.14 because the pi button is more accurate, okay? So we punch that in and you guys should be getting 157 point, and we usually just have you guys round to like the 10th place, so the first decimal spot. So we'll just keep doing that. So we'll say 157.1. So this is approximately 157.1 centimeters cubed, okay? And that's gonna be our volume of that cylinder. All right, so let's see. Let's go back to, actually, before I switch screens here, if you guys have questions on anything that I just did, why don't you type them into the chat? Remember, you can send me a private message in the chat too, so if you don't want anybody else to see it, if you don't care, send it publicly. You can send me a quick message on Remind, or you can just unmute your microphone and ask me that way. So you guys got a ton of ways you can do it. Does anybody have any questions on that one right there? All right, I'm not seeing anything, so that's good, and that's fine. So let's move on. Let's go. I'm gonna go back to my Delta Math screen here. Give me a second. Okay, here's the Delta Math screen. So that's the problem that we just did, right? So I'm gonna type in 150, see, like even in Delta Math, it's at nearest 10th place, right? So 157.1 meters cubed, submit answer. Yes, hopefully I got it right. Oh, look, I got it right. And here's what's cool, guys. See, like it breaks it down for you. That's exactly what we just did too, right? That's what's cool about Delta Math. It really like kind of helps you and shows you the work, and you can really follow along that way too, okay? New problem, let's see. Cool, it gave us a rectangular prism, right? So why don't we jot this down real quick so that way we have the information. It says a rectangular prism has a length of 20, a height of 17, and a width of 6. So 20, 17, 6. And what's the volume? So length, height, and width. Can you guys remember that for me, since just in case I forget? So length 20, height 17, width 6. And let me switch back to my whiteboard. Okay, there we go. All right, new problem here. So let's see, they gave us a, so let me draw just a quick rectangular prism. Here's the easiest way to do it. You just draw a square, And then maybe like up here, just draw another square. That's pretty cool how it does that, huh? Look at that perfect square. Boom, 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 boom. There's a rectangular prism. And let's see, I think I already forgot what they said. Let me switch back real quick. It said length 20, height 17, width 6. Cool. Okay, so length 20, height 17, and width of 6. So I want to go ahead and mark that. Now, guess what? How do we, so this one's different than the last one, right? Because it doesn't have a circular base. A cylinder has a circular base, right? This one has a rectangular base, right? But it's still a prism. So cylinder is not called a prism, though. It's actually called a cylinder because it's circular. But you find the volume the same exact way, right? So in the last one, what did we do? The volume is always going to be equal to the area of the base times the height, always. Remember, if you came in late or if you didn't, just remember capital B means area of base. It does not mean base, it means area of base, okay? So that's how you find volume of any of these prisms or cylinders, guys. There's really not that much to remember. All you have to do is remember volume equals capital BH every single time, okay? Now, how you find the area of the base is different on the problem because everyone has like a little bit different shape, right? So the volume is going to be equal to, okay, so the area of the base. So let's look at the area of the base. So I'm going to shade it in red, right? So actually, you could use any of these faces as the bases, but I'll just use this one right here. See this one that I'm shading right here? I'm just going to call that my base. Base doesn't always have to be the bottom, right? So it could be that one right there, or it could be, it could even be the side or the bottom. It doesn't really matter, okay? So the area of the base, well, that's a rectangle, right? So the area of it, that's a rectangular base. And we're going to find the area of that base. Well, area of a rectangle is simply length times width, or you could say base times height. So in other words, 17 times 20. So area of the base is 17 times 20. That's the area of the base. And I'm going to multiply it by the height. So you can see this is the height that extends it. Okay, I'm gonna pause you guys for 1 second, okay? Okay, sorry guys, my kids were calling me. So, okay, so back to this. So you can see that what? The area of the base is 17 times 20, right? So we're gonna multiply that by the height, which is 6. It's just how much it's extended by. So here's what's kind of confusing with this. When you guys hear height, you always think like how tall it is, right? That's not always the case. The height will always connect the two bases. So let me shade the other base. Well, isn't this gonna be the other base on the back side of it back here? If I asked you guys, well, what connects the two bases? You hopefully you're seeing that 6 does, right? So that's considered the height in this case. Okay, so it doesn't always have to be something that's up and down. It's not always the height. It just depends on what you're calling the base or not. So hopefully that makes sense. If you guys have questions on height, and I'll keep reiterating that in future videos as we go along. Okay, so we're going to multiply by the height of 6. And you can see all we need to do is just multiply 17 times 20 times 6, and we're going to get our volume. Okay, why don't you guys do that? So 17 times 20 times 6 equals 2040 is what I got. Let me just double check. 20 times 6. Yep, that's what I got. So we get 2040, and I think it was centimeters, but I'm not exactly sure. Centimeters cubed. Here's another one to remember, guys. Just an easy way to remember with a rectangular prism. It's always just going to be length times width times the height. That's another way to remember, just for rectangular prisms. So you can see we just multiplied the 3 numbers together, the length and the width and the height together. Okay, so that's rectangular prism. So let's go back to our Delta Math screen here, and let's hope that that's right. Let's punch it in. Yep, centimeters, so 2040. We didn't have to round, not with that one, because it's exact. Let's submit it. Say, oh, before I submit, I want to show you guys too, those of you that are here, look, watch help video. Okay, use that, all right? I actually paid for that for you guys too, so make my money go to use. So they're really, with every problem, if you guys get stuck, watch the help video. And it should give you guys a lot of help. I think that they're pretty good. So just hit submit. And let's see, yes, and look at that, we got it right. And then again, it breaks it down for us. See, like volume, length times width times height. And there you go. Cool. Let's go to the next one. Maybe we'll get a cylinder. We did. Good. So let's do this one. Let's find some extra space. It says, what's the volume of the cylinder? In cubic inches, it's got a height of 5 and a diameter of 14. Height 5, diameter 14. Okay. So let's go back and to my whiteboard here. Height 5, diameter 14. Okay. Let's find some new space here. Okay. All right, so let's draw kind of a cylinder here. So it's got a circular base. I wonder why it's not good. That's not a very good circle. Circular base. Another circular base on top. It's a little bit better, but not fantastic. Oh well. And it's at a height of 5 and a diameter of 14. Please tell me if I'm wrong on that. I'm pretty sure that I'm correct. So let's draw a diameter of 14. All right, looks like I'm good. Nobody's correcting me. And if you guys have questions, please chime in whenever you want, okay? So we're going to find the volume of the cylinder. To find the volume of any prism or cylinder, it is always going to be the area of the base times the height, always. What changes is the shape of the base. So you can see that what? The shape of our base on this one is now a circle. It's not a rectangle like it was on the last one, right? So we need to find the area of this base. Notice how, look, here's a base on top, here's a base on the bottom. Notice how they are always connected by the height. The height will always connect the two bases together, always, okay? So let's find the area of the base. So the base is a circle. So we know that we find the area of a circle, it's pi r squared. So I'm gonna say my volume formula then is, instead of capital B, I'm gonna write pi times radius squared. Why did I do that? Because it's a circle. But we're still gonna multiply it by the height of the cylinder. So all we need to do is plug in, as you can see, the radius and the height. All right, I kind of covered this a little bit, but remember, you could see that the diameter was 14. So that means that the radius must be equal to 7 then. So when we plug that in, it's going to be 7, and it looks like my height is 5. So let's just plug in those values and work it out and see what we get. So the volume is pi times the radius is 7, so 7 squared times the height, which is 5. Pi times 7 squared is 49 times 5. Okay, now let's see, 49 times 5, I believe that's 245. So 245 times pi, I'm going to say 245. Whoops, I forgot my pi. So 245 pi centimeters cubed is the exact volume. Exact volume. Now, oftentimes they say round your answer to the 10th place or round your answer to the 100th place. Okay, in this case, I believe Delta Math said the 10th place. So I'm just going to punch this into my calculator to get an approximate. All right, so we just grab our calculators and go ahead, 245 times pi, punch that in. Is it 225? Did I mess that up? Let me just double check that. Let's see, 49 times 5. No, I'm good. It's 245. It should be 245. 49 times 5 is 245. So I think we're good there. Thanks, though. I think we're good, though. So let's go 245 times pi, and we get 769.69, but that rounds up to 0.7. So we're going to say 769.7 centimeters cubed. And that's your volume of that cylinder. That's how you do it. So let's go back to Delta Math. Where is it? There it is. 769.7. Oh, this one was inches. I'm sorry. So you can just change that easily. So it was inches. So 769.7. Let's hit submit. Yes, looks like we did it right. So you can see that's all the work that we that it should look like, and that's exactly what I showed you.